Good morning. What are you doing up so early? It's 5:51 in the morning on a Tuesday, January 28th here in Western Iowa. Probably where you are too, unless you're in Australia or something. All right. We have snow coming in the Pacific Northwest and severe weather for Texas before that. But I do want to start with our weather spotlight, which takes us to the Pacific Northwest. This is not snow on the ground, but this is snow between now and the end of next week. So it's turning much colder in the Pacific Northwest, and snow right down to the valley floors in the Willamette Valley. 4 to 6 inches right up the Willamette Valley to Portland, Oregon. Snow near Seattle, snow near the coast. So could be a cold and snowy time of it for areas that don't see a lot of snow normally. I mean, it snows almost every year there, but so this is probably your chance coming up next week. We'll get into that. The hazards this morning, we're still watching our big low in the desert southwest. Winter storm watches up for California, Nevada, Arizona. Still have cold air sinking into the west coast. So freeze warnings, freeze watches for Central California all the way down to San Francisco. Some wind issues in the plains, enough for wind advisories up there in North Dakota, Minnesota, but even breezy here in Iowa and Nebraska. It's kind of a elevated fire danger, so it's going to be warming up too. But hanging on to the cold, the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan, even the Arrowhead of Minnesota, where we see our winter weather advisories, also off of Lake Erie and off of Lake Ontario. Winter storm watch there, some fog in the south and some wind issues in the Appalachians and parts of the Northeast. Our temperature change from yesterday. You see it's much colder north of the Great Lakes in Canada, and some of that cold air, again, into the Arrowhead of Minnesota, UP of Michigan, northern Michigan, colder than it was this time yesterday, but warmer for the plains, all the way through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and into most of the Northeast. A little bit colder this morning in the Southeast, but the trend is going to be warmer for a lot of places, especially in the plains. This morning it is quite cold, though. I mean, we have single digits there in eastern Oregon and getting into Nevada. Some cold stuff here also for the Rockies. So that trough being dug in the west is being felt. Meanwhile, it's starting to warm up in the plains. I mean, we're 40s and 50s in Texas this morning, and across the south, a lot of warm starts here. As we get into the surface for today, there's your storm in the southwest. So rain or snow, depending on where you are, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, those are the four corner states. And some rain starting to bust out in Texas. And we have snow across the Great Lakes and heavy snow possible for New York tomorrow. Our storm makes eastward progress, still in the four corners with rain and snow, but we're starting to see showers, thunderstorms busting out Texas into the south and central plains, even parts of the Midwest, looking at you, Missouri. And still hanging on to cold air and snow across the Great Lakes and especially off of Lake Ontario. 48-hour precipitation, so ending 1 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. We're looking at pretty good rainfall, North Texas into Oklahoma. Could see 1.5 inches of rain here, maybe isolated a little bit more. Lesser amounts as you head back towards Arizona, New Mexico, but it's not zero, and they sure need it. Up there in the Great Lakes, that's all snow, or mostly snow. Yeah, it's all snow. Okay. So we're looking at quite a bit of snow up there in, again, northern New York, 1.5 feet perhaps, even off of Lake Erie, which is frozen. But we have some clipper systems moving across, so still 1 foot or more for parts of New York into Pennsylvania. And then there you see the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan with some good snows. And the Four Corners with our upper level low, some pretty good snows too, especially in Colorado. Severe weather threat is coming to Texas on Wednesday. Just a marginal risk now. They kind of downgraded Wednesday, and Thursday looks more interesting. So Wednesday, a marginal risk from the Red River through the I-35 corridor down to San Antonio almost, and places west General thunderstorms, Four Corners, and even Oklahoma through Missouri. But on Thursday, gets rocking a little bit more. Slight risk now moves from north of Houston, East Texas through much of Louisiana, and the marginal risk expands back to Dallas to San Antonio. And into Arkansas, Little Rock included. So could be some severe storms here on Thursday, moving out of Texas into the southeast. And that surface on Thursday showing that heavy rain, flash flooding possible from Paris, Texas through Arkansas, all the way up into parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, including Memphis, northern Louisiana, and a little spot of severe weather with that surface low in central Texas. Could see some icing in Pennsylvania Thursday. We'll see. It's showing a mix here for central Iowa. Our forecast is more rain, maybe north of us a little bit of snow mixed in, but it's possible. So we'll see. And then that storm continues to move off to the east. All right, let's go through. We're on the GFS this morning starting at 6 a.m. Central Time. A little bit of snow moving into the UP of Michigan and the Arrowhead of Minnesota. A little bit of light snow here in the eastern Great Lakes. And as we go through time today, that little clipper system bringing that snow into New York. And you can see the cold air is being held in place with our jet stream here, mainly across the northern Great Lakes and into the northeast. Everyone else kind of warming up. And as we go, now we do see our low here in the southwest, so spreading some scattered snow showers around the Four Corners as we get into, this is Wednesday night, getting into Thursday. We start to see some thunderstorms busting out near Dallas and even into Oklahoma. Some rain in Kansas. Snow in eastern Colorado, but not as much as the models were saying a few days ago. As we get into Thursday, January 30th, yes, my birthday, thunderstorms in Texas, Oklahoma, into Arkansas. And those are going to expand northward and eastward. As we get further into Thursday, we start to see some showers and thunderstorms near Lincoln, Nebraska, into Omaha. So maybe even rumbles of thunder here. Meanwhile, storms lining up and heavy rainers. Again, this is our flash flood threat on the surface map. So approaching Memphis here as we get late into the day Thursday and through Arkansas and into Louisiana. And then that low continues eastward. Lots of rain as we get into the Ohio Valley, even into Pennsylvania. And then the Pacific Northwest getting a pretty strong storm. This is rain for the Willamette Valley and heavy rain even for the coastal range. Heavy snow when you get into the Cascades. This gets us into Friday early morning, the last day of January. Our system on the east exits with heavy rain going out into the ocean with some snow lingering in New England. And we have rain and snow in the Pacific Northwest. That's snow inland when you get into Idaho and Montana. See a little bit of atmospheric river action into Northern California. Heavy rains here. And the snow level pretty high with some heavy rains in the mountains. But we're going to start to see the cold air now invading the Pacific Northwest as we get into next week. And so as that happens, we start to see some snow spreading into the Willamette Valley as we get into early next week. And it's going to persist. I mean, it's not really warming up here. And so if you do get some snow, it's probably going to hang around for a little bit. This gets us into Wednesday. And you see some snow moving up from the south, almost down to the coast and into, western Washington and eastern Washington. So this is Wednesday night, getting into Thursday. And it looks like a nice snowstorm for the Willamette Valley and places lower elevations of western Washington and western Oregon. And a few rounds of that going throughout the week. So in a place where it doesn't see a lot of snow, and when it does snow, it doesn't hang around very often or very long. Could be a prolonged winter weather event for where people live in the Pacific Northwest, which is the lower elevations west of the Cascades. Meanwhile, I was watching the Northwest and zoomed past this mess here, but we're getting further out in time. but we see maybe another system here bringing some ice and some snow across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, and that gets us into next weekend. So pretty interesting stuff coming up ahead. And then some cold air maybe invading from the north and west as we get towards the middle of the month. But yeah, and that shows that here on our 8 to 14 day temperature. So turning colder west and north and staying warm south and southeast into the mid-Atlantic. Kind of equal chances of warm or cold for the Northeast. And precipitation-wise, quite a bit. Most of the country with at least an above average chance of above average precipitation, except drying out there in the southwest. All right, that's a quick look at our weather this morning. We'll continue to watch it. Severe weather, Texas, and into the southeast coming next couple days, and then we'll look for the northwest to get some snow next week. And we'll keep you posted. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.